1, 2, 3.
Hello, welcome to Rock the Cash Bar. I'm Ben Mowbray.
And I'm Diane Gallagher.
Every week we pick one song and do a deep dive into the lyrics and explain the different ways they've been interpreted.
We will also discuss how the song connected to us on a personal level, focusing on all the embarrassing details.
Glad to have you here. Enjoy the show. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We're recording it. It is St. Patrick's Day.
Yes. Glug, 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 glug. I know. I fear by the time this comes out on, Sunday for YouTube people. I don't know if everybody saw my announcement. If you are watching on YouTube, you get it early. That's your little prize. But I feel like, we're all excited about St. Patty's Day, and then these people are going to be so over it. Like, yep. They've already thrown up their green beer. They don't want to be reminded of Friday.
What did I do? Who am I? I can't even remember anymore.
Yeah. So, but I'm enjoying it. I have 2 crock pots full of Guinness stew downstairs. I'm going to make a mostly green charcuterie board. Tons of Guinness, Jameson, Bailey's. I'm drinking a Guinness right now. Like, we're going for it.
How are you making a green charcuterie board? And also, that's the famous St. Patrick's Day plan I think I've ever heard.
Just, I'm going to pepper in some regular color food like salami and crackers and stuff, but just all the green foods that go on it. Like, your olives, your pickles, your broccoli and your snap peas and wasabi peas and jalapeno corn chips.
Nothing says the Emerald Isle like wasabi peas.
I know. And jalapeno corn chips. We're just going for the aesthetic, Ben. Just go with it. That's what I'm telling everybody. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about St. Patrick's Day. I'm a bartender. I usually dread it. Like every time St. Patrick's Day comes around, does it have to be on a Friday? Why does it have to be on a Friday?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, before we started recording, I had asked you what kind of night it's going to be for you.
Hopefully we make no memories on St. Patrick's Day. That's the goal. The goal is to get out of it alive with no stories.
That's the best way to do it. Sorry, I have this little dumb headband on with just Irish stereotypes, and I have to take it off. I have to be done. Yeah.
I am an Irish stereotype in my. Is it the tam o' shanter? I'm not sure what kind of hat this is called.
I don't know either.
It's green and Irish. I always feel bad on St. Patrick's Day because I feel like in America, we're celebrating the worst aspects of Irish culture.
We're celebrating Irish stereotypes, and this is the day for Africans and Mexicans to get drunk with white people. Like, that's all. It's just, what did Odo tweet this morning? Happy Alcoholics Christmas. I mean, that's all we do with it.
I was thinking about being cheeky today and wearing like my Mexico soccer jersey because it's all green.
That's perfect.
What? It's green, man.
Yes.
It's green, vato. But I always feel bad. It's like to me, the charm of Ireland is the twinkle. It's the art, it's the literature, and the fighting and the stubbornness and the drunkenness and the shittiness are all like to be ignored.
Yeah. I love their folk history, and like today. So after we went to Ireland, I demanded that we have peat, because that was my favorite thing about Ireland that I couldn't bring back to America was the smell. Like, I just loved how everybody's burning peat in their fireplaces. So we have some, and we chunked it in our fireplace today because it's cold. It's randomly cold today now. And you can't smell it inside, but when you go outside, it smells like Ireland, just around our house. You are welcome, Friendswood.
You don't even know what Ireland smells like.
Yeah, I know.
They're not kidding about that 40 Shades of Green stuff, though. You get out in the Irish countryside, like that's a real thing. It might be 50 or 60 shades of green.
Yeah. And they're not kidding about the rainbows, from what I've heard, in the summertime. Like, they're just fucking everywhere. Like, real rainbows everywhere.
I haven't been to Ireland since I was 8 years old. And I remember it like pretty distinctly because we were going to my dad's dangerous homeland. I think I've talked about it on a podcast before, but I just remember we took the ferry over from Scotland and we landed in Belfast. Ooh. And my granddad, my dad's dad, was waiting there for us, and we could see him sort of on the docks. And as soon as we got into Belfast in '88, I was I mean, I was this kid from rural Canada, and I'd just come from, my mom's dad's English country farm. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden we're in Belfast in 1988, and it's all barbed wire and all graffiti and soldiers in the streets. And I just remember it just being just absolutely eye-opening. Like, I didn't consciously think to myself when I was 8, but I was just like, my dad is from a place that I will never understand. Like,
Wow. Where's he from?
he's from Derry. He's from Londonderry.
Whoa. Did he love Dairy Girls? But
He does love Derry Girls.
so
I love
good.
That's
It's
a
so good.
fantastic show. Watch Derry Girls. Watch
Oh,
for Liam Neeson's perfect cameo in Derry Girls.
who?
Liam Neeson has a cameo in, I think, season 2 of Derry Girls.
That's right. He does. He does. Some people they're like, they don't get it. They don't get why it's funny. I'm like, you have to watch it and you have to put captions on. Even Irish people have to put captions on. No one understands what they're saying. They're talking so fast. But it's so funny. It is so funny and well done.
I cackle the whole way through it. My only critique of Derry Girls would be like in the later, like, I think they have 3 seasons now, and definitely in the third one, like, you really got to squint at some of those girls to believe that they're 17.
Oh, especially the dark hair girl. I've already forgotten all their names. I'm like, she's like 35.
All right, I'll accept it because it's wonderful, but come on, man.
No, the first season, me and Corbin were like, how old is this girl? But it's great.
That's why I always feel weird around American Irish people when they present themselves as Irish, because like I was raised by an Irishman, like I'm the son of an Irish immigrant, and I absolutely do not consider myself Irish because it's a specific place that puts specific marks on you. And if you're not like literally from there, you are not in fact Irish. Now, it could be that there's a cultural thing where like American Irish, Boston Irish, New York Irish,
Exactly.
that's its own thing, but that's not Irish.
Well, speaking of, we were going to try to have Brian Gallagher back on, and he just couldn't do it. But I was talking to him about Flogging Molly. Like, how do you think the Irish feel about him? And he's not saying they don't like Flogging Molly, but it's more our thing than theirs. Yeah. I think it was the point he was
definitely
trying
a highly
to make.
Americanized version of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Even though Dave King is himself a Dubliner, he's got quite a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know, because when I started reading, I knew a little bit about Flogging Molly, and I figured like I knew that the lead singer and the front man had Irish roots, was from Ireland, but I assumed that he like moved here when he was 10 or 11 or something like that, and was culturally like American Irish.
Right.
That's not true. Like his entire childhood and his young adulthood were in Ireland, and it wasn't until kind of his early 20s that he was exported almost against his will to the United States.
Yeah. So it's cool. I mean, and if otherwise, I would think he was faking his accent, and that I wouldn't like that.
That's why I kind of had my back up against Flogging Molly, because I sort of lumped them in. I mean, like everybody does, I lumped them in with Dropkick Murphys, which is a kind of strain of Irishness that, if I'm being honest with you, I sort of resent.
I know. Even though they did some really good stuff politically for the like labor union, but it's. Well, we're going to see later. There's a really funny sketch coming from Jeremy later, and I'll describe it in a little bit. But, I don't mind the drop kicks, but if I'm going to listen to an Irish stereotype of Ireland, Celtic punk, I'm going Flogging Molly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Flogging Molly is definitely greater than the Dropkick Murphys. You heard it first. I swear first.
So there's so many, like, it was hard to narrow down like what song to do, because when I'm listening to Flogging Molly, I like getting pumped. They have a really great way of like starting you off slow, and then like just like a tornado comes through your house, chaos amount of music and singing. And like, I love Drunken Lullabies, and I love What's Left of the Flag. And but if we're just going to get into some really sweet and interesting lyrics, I'm like, we do lyrics here. And so If I Ever Leave This World Alive, I thought was really fun to dig into. And I hope it doesn't bring everybody down, but we're supposed to be partying today, but I'm just like, but hold on, listen to this sweet song.
It's St. Patrick's Day. You're not bringing anybody down on St. Patrick's Day.
All right.
I once got thrown out of an Irish pub on St. Patrick's Day for being too loud. Thank you, Andy Huggins.
Yeah, I was like, that's a perfect Huggins. That's really good. Not to be too somber, but I will say I want to dedicate this episode to my friend Cora Tucker, in memory of her husband Nick Tucker, another friend of mine who lost his battle with cancer last month. And when I think about the lyrics of this song, I think about Nick telling her everything's gonna be okay. So
Sure.
this is for
Mm,
you, Cora.
yeah. The song is called "If I Leave This World Alive." It's by Dave King and Flogging Molly, and the lyrics do seem to be just from the outset. They do definitely seem to be about somebody who's passed and is revisiting a loved one.
If I ever leave this world alive, well, thank you for the things you did in my life. If I ever leave this world alive, I'll come back down and sit beside your feet tonight. Wherever I am, you'll always be more than just a memory. If I ever leave this world alive.
They start off, "If I ever leave this world alive, I'll thank you for the things you did in my life. If I ever leave this world alive, I'll come back down and sit beside your feet tonight." There's something about that line that's just like it could be like I'll lie beside you tonight, or I'll hold you tonight, or it's just something about a loved one coming and just sitting by your feet tonight, like especially in the season. It's just the perfect arrangement where it's just like I'm not haunting you, I'm not comforting you, but I'm going to be here with you. I don't know how to explain why I find just the idea of laying next to someone's feet so charming.
It will just makes me think like, are you coming back as a Labrador? Like, what do we think? I mean, they're very warm and that's nice. I'll scratch your head. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a very comforting ghost.
Mhm. "Wherever I am, you'll always be more than just a memory if I ever leave this world alive." Oh.
So this is just very sweet. And I will say, for most people, they're not going to go along with me on this crazy, like, dual idea of what this song could mean. But just, come with me on this. We can read it straightforward about someone who's like, if I die, this is how I will be thinking of you. Or Corbin, and I don't know where he read this because I didn't find it anywhere, maybe just some fan theories, is the idea of when he says, if I ever leave this world, he's talking about the world of addiction. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol. So he's telling his woman, if I ever get out of this alive, I'm gonna be with you clean. And I like the idea of, and there's a third way I like to think of this song when I hear the lyrics, is drunk addict talking to future sober version of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Mhm.
that too. And there's a lyric later on that we'll get to that I want to point out, like what he could be saying to the sober version of himself.
Yeah, "I'll be there to comfort myself." That's an interesting way of thinking about it. Yes,
Yeah.
multifaceted. There's also there's a real Irish ennui, to this. I'm just sat here pondering my own death.
Yes.
That's awfully sweet of you.
If I ever leave this world alive, I'll take on all the sadness that I left behind. If I ever leave this world alive, the madness that you feel will soon subside. So in a word, don't shed a tear. I'll be here when it all gets weird. If I ever leave this world alive.
Yeah.
If I ever leave this world alive, I'll take on all the sadness that I left behind. If I ever leave this world alive, the madness that you feel will soon subside. That dovetails with what you were talking about, a drunken person trying to comfort their sober self.
Yeah.
Or trying to get down to the point where they can comfort their sober self.
Well, so this is the thing about therapy that we learn about, especially if you're leaving addiction or whatever your coping mechanism was. Say you weren't even an addict. Say you're just like me, who just made a joke out of everything instead of facing the things. I'll take on the sadness that I left behind. all that stuff that you left behind that you were like numbing with alcohol or just pushing down and not, focusing on. It's like, I'm gonna take it on now. I'm gonna take life a little bit on the nose now. It's gonna be a little harder, but this is what I have to do.
Myself and my emotions in a rational way. A brave thing to do. I don't do that all the time.
It's not fun. It's not great.
So in a word, don't shed a tear. I'll be here when it all gets weird. I love that line. If I ever leave this world alive.
That's what I was saying. Like, that's what sober version is gonna tell drunk version is like, I'll be here when it gets weird. Like when all those feelings start coming and you want to go grab a drink or do whatever to numb it. It's like, no, I'm here. I'm here with you. We're gonna do this together.
We'll do it together for sure. Yeah.
So when in doubt, just call my name. Just before you go insane. If I ever leave this world, hey, I may never leave this world. But if I ever leave this world alive.
So when in doubt, just call my name just before you go insane. Yeah. So if I leave this world, hey, I may never leave.
That's a big, like, hey, I may never get sober.
Gonna give it a try, no promises.
Yeah.
Hey, I may never leave this world, but if I ever leave this world alive. But then it takes kind of a twist where she says,
I'm okay. I'm all right. Though you have gone from my life, you said that it would. Now everything should be all right.
The lyrics are, she says, I'm okay, I'm all right, though you have gone from my life. You said that it would, now everything should be all right.
I love this part. I love this part. Now back to just being like a straightforward, like his wife is saying like, okay, like you are gone. You said that everything would be okay. So I'm going to trust that it will be. You're here with me. I'm not alone, and I'm like, oh, that's really sweet. And this, the whole song is slow, even up through these lyrics. And then the next lyric, she says it again, but it's when the beat drops, and I love it. It's when they start yelling, which I love.
That's when the band roars to life. There's a moment in every Flogging Molly song where there's like where it just kicks in, like it's time to tear it up.
She says, I'm okay. I'm all right. Though you have gone from my life, you said that it would. Everything should be all right. It should be all right. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Yeah, it's like the whole mosh pit has just been slowly waiting, like, let's do it. Come on, drums, let's do it.
Building the drama.
Yeah, building the drama.
Until that snap drop. So that's pretty much the end of it. And it repeats that chorus again. She says, I'm okay, I'm all right, though you've gone from my life. You said that it would, now everything should be all right. Yeah, it should be all right.
Yeah.
So it is reassuring. But I do definitely think that I think you take this one at its word. Like it's nice to find a double and a triple meaning, but I think it's just right there. It's just like, oh, this is the death of a loved one coming back to look out for you, or promising.
Leaving some nice words for someone, especially in a song that they can go back and listen to and be like, okay, you kept saying it'll be okay. And okay, I'm going to believe you. I'm going to be okay.
I love you, and now I'm going to haunt you.
If you're gonna haunt, like if I just tell Corbin, like if he leaves and he's gonna haunt, and be like, you can just like also help me pick up some shit too. That'd be great. Like ghosts are never handy. They're always just like knocking stuff off bookshelves. You're like, can you pick that up? Like, come on, man.
Be a helpful, respectful ghost.
Yeah, just once can I wake up in the middle of the night and you're vacuuming? That'd be fine with me.
If you're going to be trapped in between universes, make yourself useful.
Please, God. Like, then we wouldn't be so scared of you. It'd be like, oh, thank God, my ghost is here. I'll pay you. What do ghosts get paid in?
Yeah. I can't think of anybody that I would haunt.
No.
Mhm.
Hold on, let me think about this. Maybe I would only do it to someone who was mean to me, obviously. Do you have
Mhm.
any enemies?
No, not really.
Not
Not that I
really.
know of.
No, not worth my time in my afterlife. I want to go do fun stuff. I ain't worried about you anymore. I'm gone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I definitely want to float and pass through walls. That looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, a couple times, and then I think you get bored. Have you ever watched The Good Place? Did you ever watch that?
No.
Oh, you should, Ben. It's
Mhm.
so good. It's like five or six seasons of great television. Um, it's all about what happens in the afterlife, and it has some twists, some major twists. You think you're one place and you're in another. And there's this one version, I don't want to ruin it, but like they find it heaven, and everyone there is so bored. They're so bored because they've done everything. I mean, they're so bored they're dumb. Like they don't remember math anymore. I mean, there's no reason to do any. So anyway, they put it and they come up with a solution for that. It's a great show.
So if we just feel good 100% of the time, who would have thought that would suck?
Oh my God, Lisa Kudrow's up there and she's just drinking milkshakes nonstop. And it never goes down, it never gets smaller. You don't have to go to the bathroom, you don't gain weight. I mean, she just doesn't even know what else to do with her life at that point. She's constantly drinking milkshakes.
That's my life anyway.
um, so yeah, that's, I feel like I picked like a very, very, sorry, my whole family's here and there's noises happening. So I want to say their music ranges from, and I love these descriptions, boisterous Celtic punk, with songs like Salty Dog, Cruel Mistress, Seven Deadly Sins, Defiant, What's Left of the Flag, Drunken Lullabies, and somber with Float and the song we just covered.
Really, this world alive. What I love about Flogging Molly is the way that they play with an extreme joy. Like
Yes.
the first couple of times I heard him, I just thought it was just like boilerplate Irish anger. But then you see the live shows and you see the looks on their faces and you see the way that they're approaching their instruments and you realize that these people are just enjoying the shit out of being on stage and making this racket.
It is I don't even know how it's like the most joy I've ever seen. The most joy. It's the happiest mosh pit ever. Like there's no one in there mad swinging. Everybody's just so happy.
I was watching a documentary and Dave King, the leader and frontman of Flogging Molly, was saying, and he said this with humility, like it's impossible. I'm just going to read the quote, but he said it with unmistakable humility and also just like it was a fact. He was just like, I really think that Flogging Molly could follow peak AC/DC, or they could follow the Rolling Stones and still get out there and kick some fucking ass. I
I
was just
saw
like,
that.
you know what? You're probably right, because there's nobody who sounds like you. There's generations of Irish people or Irish descendants who just respond to that kind of beat or respond to that kind of melody almost innately, like it's in our DNA.
Mhm.
And it generates a reaction like really nothing I've ever seen, you know?
I mean, you don't have to have ever heard them before or even be a fan of that type of music, but like when people play their instruments that well, like your violin and your accordion mixed with like your guitar, your bass, everything else I mean, and they do it so well that you can't not be like, I am fucking pumped right now. I don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, I'm absolutely transfixed and transported in a weird way. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it brings up the freedom fighter in you.
Yeah. Does your dad, does he know Flogging Molly? Does he like, or is that a,
No, not really. Like
no.
he sort of knows of them. Like my dad's Irish, so anything Irish eventually makes his way to him. You know, either
Yeah.
like as a gift or a hey Sid, you should check this out.
Yeah.
So yeah, he definitely knows about all of those things. But he's also like he left Ireland for a reason. You know,
Mhm.
he enjoys being Irish and he enjoys going back home and visiting his family and everything like that. But I don't think he's got any regrets whatsoever about getting out of there. I think he looks at
Yeah.
that very best decision I could have made for my 16-year-old self.
Oh, that's so interesting, because Corbin's dad has dual Irish citizenship and he has a house there. And his retirement age, you can tell he just wants to be there. Like I
Yeah.
think he goes for months at a time and there's a family that lives up the street that has adopted him and
Mhm.
you can tell you're like, oh, he wants to just go and stay there now. I think it's a good place for retirement.
For sure. and they've made like great strides. Like obviously, the end of the Troubles is the big one, but they've
Right.
also made, for the longest time, Ireland was a country that was basically run by the church. You just didn't get elected without church sanction. So they had all kinds of like very, very conservative laws. Like abortion was illegal for the longest time.
Right.
Same-sex marriage also illegal. It happened kind of faster and more dramatically in Ireland than it did even in America. And it doesn't look like they want to go back. It was Dave King grew up in a place called Beggar's Bush in Dublin, and his mother was very near a major bombing when he was a kid, and he was talking about how he didn't know that she was going to come home. Like he knew that there'd been a bombing in city center, and he knew that dozens of people had died, and he knew that his mom was in the city center, and he knew that mom wasn't back. So he spent like hours wondering if she was going to make it, and he said it wasn't until I heard her key in the door that I knew that she was going to come home. And he was talking about how you don't wish that on anyone. And
How old was he?
Oh, this would have been when he was like 10 or 11. He would have been.
Was his dad already dead? Because I think his dad died when he was 8.
Yeah, his dad had already passed. So you're talking about the occasion of one's orphanage. All those things are coming into his mind. That's what I mean when I talk about Ireland being a place that puts really specific marks on you. Like it's kind of easy for us as Americans to look at it as you're throwing the yoke of British imperialism off of you the same way we did. Rah rah.
Right.
Like it's way more intimate than that. When you're talking about basically a civil war that's stretched hundreds of years on. It's a different thing altogether. Like your emotions become far more complicated. It's not just a matter of a freedom fight anymore. It's not a matter of having a nation of your own. It's a matter of what are we going to do about all of this bloodshed. Like something has to be done about it. It's just too damn sad for all of us.
Yeah. Do you have like the best, like if I was to explain to Charlie, because I can't do it, what's the deal with Northern Ireland and Ireland? Like, what's the basic way? Oh, bust up. That I could explain that to my kid, to the layman.
There's no basic way to explain it. My dad explained it to me once. There's the glorious 12th. It's about the siege of Londonderry and the Battle of the Boyne, which took place well over 400 years ago. And as my dad explained it to me, well, a Scottish king and a Dutch prince were fighting over an English throne that a German sits on now.
They're like, okay, never mind.
Yeah. The answer is like the fighting has been going on for so long that you really can't explain it to anybody anymore. Like at its most basic, it's Catholic versus Protestant. At its most basic, it's English imperialism versus Irish nationalism. But it's so much more than that now, and sort of always was. I was talking to an Irishman at a comedy club in San Antonio years ago, and he was talking like the reason why it's so endless is because once you're a freedom fighter, you're a member of the IRA or the UVF or whichever side you're on, then you're a freedom fighter, and you get all of this respect in the neighborhood because you're a big tough guy and you're risking yourself for our side. You're doing your bit for Ireland and everything like that. Well, what happens when it finished? When the battle's over, it's like, well, we got a bus for you to drive.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing left for you to do. Like the reason why it continues and goes on is because these guys know that there's the alternative is they give up that respect and that romance.
That makes sense.
That was that one Irishman's opinion. I was like, I hadn't thought of it like that before, but yeah, I think that sounds pretty square to me.
Do you think do you think it's just forever? This is just a forever thing. Like a lot of things in the Middle East, it's just a forever fight.
I think it'll gradually come around. I think as religion loses its grip on politics, and I think as people start to realize that these borders aren't worth fighting and dying for, that the culture itself is surviving just fine.
The human connection is way more important than these imaginary differences.
Yeah, and that in order for Ireland to survive, they're going to have really close economic ties to England, no matter what happens. Whether Northern Ireland is ruled by England or not. England is clearly going to be Ireland's closest trading partner just by virtue of they're in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
And plus, it's way more like, how far back in history do you want to go?
Yeah.
Talk to an English person who will tell you that Ireland has always been the backdoor staging area for every single invasion of England since since William the Conqueror, for 1,000 years. Like if you were going to build an army and invade England, you built it in Ireland and you sailed it over into Wales. It just happened over and over and over again. So you could definitely talk to an English patriot who's just like, we had to come over there and subdue you. We had to.
Geography. It's just geography. Sorry. Bad place, bad time.
So I think just about every Irish person that I've talked to is actually who's from there. It's just like they're not the idea of being a freedom fighter, the idea of ruling the whole of the island, through use of violence is just an idea that they're absolutely tired with. It's only the super extreme young men or extreme old men that are still interested in that sort of thing. Everybody else is just like, all right, enough with this shit already.
It's exhausting. I imagine. Yeah, I think I have to imagine as more and more generations come about, they're just like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why? I don't get it.
Think of like every time you go into a public place or a movie theater, or like, I don't mean to scare you, but every time Charlie goes to school, like it's got to be in the back of your mind, like school shootings, mass shootings are in all of our minds. Like for the Irish people, for 30 or 40 years, just going to a pub, walking down the street, like everybody knows somebody who had either lost somebody or had a close call in a bombing. Like you just don't escape it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't imagine living in a world like that, and it scares me to death to think that our country could easily descend into that kind of madness.
I can't think about it. Also, guys, well, like I said, this comes out later, but you can do your Irish car bomb drinks here in America on St. Patrick's Day. Don't do it in Ireland. They don't do that over there. That's not a drink they do. It's a little offensive. That is American frat boy shit. Keep it out of there.
Have you been in Ireland for St. Patrick's Day?
No.
No, neither have I. My dad always told me that St. Patrick's Day wasn't that big a deal in Ireland, but I think it just wasn't that big a deal in his neighborhood or the kind of Irishman that he was, because I've talked to people who have been over there and they're just like, oh no, it's huge. Like the whole nation shuts down.
Yeah, it's probably different than what we do, how we celebrate it here. Like ours is just, sometimes I get like a little, because Corbin's family is Irish, and so we get into it. I'm gonna make a soda bread, we get into it, but I'm just like, are we just doing all are we just doing all the stereotypes? Are we connecting to this at all? But then again, I don't connect to Christmas either, so fuck it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I would hope that St. Patrick's Day in Ireland, celebrates like the really good things about Ireland. Like I really do mean that. Like when I think about if I have any Irishness in me, I want to work out the Irish twinkle. Like I don't want the stubbornness, I don't want the drunkenness. Like I want
charm.
Charm. My dad's younger brother, my Uncle James, has the Irish twinkle like nobody I've ever met. Like he's quick-witted and but never putting anybody down. Like his jokes aren't savaging anything. They're just the most charming kind of, and his strange lilt. I want to go for 5 or 6 years, like just long enough to like, oh no, I came by the accent legitimately. I'm not fake. I just wanted to be understood.
I will say this one story that I don't get very woo-woo or into a lot of like magical stuff, but there was a time when I was with my ex-boyfriend, and things were not going good. And we were always fighting. Things were never going good. And I just remember I was like at my limits, and I was standing in his backyard and was just like, not even actively saying it out loud, but like just in my mind, like, just give me a sign that everything will get better. It's not always going to be like this. And I looked straight down into a patch of clovers, and I found a 4-leaf clover. Like, I still have it. I have it framed. I kept it and I have it framed. And I wonder if it was like you're going to marry an Irish dude and you are going to get out of this.
You're going to marry an Irish dude, you poor thing.
But it was like the sign of like, I think I was just in my head and my heart. I was like, is it always going to be like this? And the ground was like, no, it's going to be very different for you, actually.
We'll get better.
Yeah. Yeah. So I still have it framed today.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually thinking like they didn't exist. I'm like, who are you people? Like when you're a kid, you look your whole life for a 4-leaf clover and you're like, they don't exist. And then, I mean, the 4th leaf was like hidden right under one and you could spread it out. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I found one. Yep. It was cool.
We used to spend whole days looking for 4-leaf clovers as kids.
Yeah. Did you ever find one?
I don't remember. I don't specifically remember ever finding one.
Yeah.
Like I definitely remember like friends of mine having like four leaf clovers like crushed between the pages of their notebook. So they must have been out there somewhere, but I don't ever remember finding one for myself. And I
Yeah.
certainly don't feel like my life has been blessed with the luck of a four leaf clover. I must not have found one.
Get out there, Ben. Like my whole yard is just weeds. I don't even think I have grass. I think it's all dollar weed and garbage. So I'm sure we got like a whole bunch out there if you want to go take a look.
Excellent.
Um, what else do you want to say about them? They got their name because they started playing at this place called Molly Malone's, and I like his quote saying,
Malone's pub, yeah, in Los Angeles. I've been to Molly Malone's.
"Have you really?"
I didn't realize that that was the place that Flogging Molly got their start in. But yeah, there's that because Molly Malone's is right near Cantor's Deli, so it's all
Okay.
like that's how you spent your night on the Sunset Strip. Like wherever you were going, you'd wind up at Cantor's afterwards. Like the legendary comedy store stories are always just like, so it's 3 o'clock in the morning, we're at Cantor's.
Yeah.
The Sunset, rock star stories are also the same thing. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, we're at Cantor's.
So is it a deli like a restaurant or is it like a bodega type thing?
Like a classic Jewish deli. Like
Okay.
it's yeah. It's like
Perfect.
yeah. Katz's never closes. That's kind of like a Cantor's knockoff.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Yeah, he was saying they played there every Monday night. I don't know for how long, but he said it felt like they were flogging it to death. So we called the band Flogging Molly, which I was like, oh, that's great.
His backstory is really unique. So his father dies when he's I think 9 or 10 years old
Okay.
is what he said, and he said they grew up poor in I guess you would, I don't know if the Irish call it a council estate, but it sounds like what the English would call a council estate, what we would call a housing project. It was an
Okay.
old English army barracks that he was raised in. And he said they had one room, a front room, and a bedroom for his mother and himself, and he said that there was a piano, and he doesn't know where the piano came from or how his parents could afford a piano or where the piano went, but there was a piano. And he became fascinated with his parents' pub culture because they were social people. They would go out and then they would bring their friends back from the pub, and everybody would sit in the front room and drink and play music. So out would come the banjos and out would come the whistles, and they would play the piano, and everybody would take their turn singing. And they let Dave King sing as well. And that's where the love of traditional Irish music and traditional Irish behavior, I think, worked his way into his bones. After his father passed, when he was a really young man, his mom saw an ad. They were looking for a singer, and it was Fast Eddie from oh God, whose band?
Motorhead?
Yeah, was starting up a new band, and he was looking for a singer. So they sent Dave off to audition for that, and he got it. And he more or less immediately went from this boy living in the projects to fronting a pretty famous rock band or a side project. So he got his work visas and he moved to Los Angeles and he starts playing and recording with them. That band breaks up, and Dave King
Wait,
gets signed to a solo record label with a solo contract with Epic Records. He starts piecing it together and everything's going well. They like the music and everything like that, but it starts getting weirder and weirder. He's adding mandolins, he's adding the accordions, like it's building its way towards Flogging Molly. And as he's turning in these tapes, the record executives are just like, this is never going to sell. Like, we can't use this. We can't. And he just digs his heels in and he's like, well, this is what I want to do. So turn me loose.
yeah.
Like, I am not going to make the record that you want to make. So he got out of his record contract. He put together the musicians that became Flogging Molly, and they're incredibly disparate. There's there's like 15, 20 years separating the drummer, and the bassist was a very young kid who barely knew how to play the bass. The drummer was a very established like session musician in Los Angeles, and that's your rhythm section.
Right.
So it starts off like the drummer is teaching this young kid, okay, here's how you do it. And then over the course of 5 to 7 years, eventually they get to the point where they can challenge each other and work off of each other. But he basically threw the band together almost like magic. And it's a 7-piece, so it's a small band. And they start playing at Molly Malone's, and damn, do they start making a reputation for themselves pretty quickly.
I mean, how could you not? They're so good. They're so like even if you're in a bad mood and you hear that, you're like, you're gonna be moving just a little bit. You're like, this is okay, I'm in. I'm in.
Again, just imagine the word of mouth too. Like, this is like nothing you have ever seen. Like, you have got to come see this. And they play every Monday. Like, I don't think they were flogging it to death at all. I think that was a perfect strategy for them. Like, it must have just built and built and built.
Yeah. And imagine just like, especially in LA or anywhere where like, a band comes in and maybe they do a lot of love songs, or they're just like really hard rock, or they're really punk. But it's like, how many bands are just always happy, like
Yeah.
making you feel good. Like, I don't even care what your taste is. If you just want to feel good tonight, come with me and see this
Yeah.
band.
And it crosses genres because obviously like there's the punk rock feel to it as well, but it also has like a real sort of like country western hootenanny kind of feel
Yes.
to it, you know, like a lot of that country music and washboard music comes out of the Scottish Highlands and out of Ireland. You know, those are traditional
Yeah.
medieval melodies and things like that. It certainly it just has that clompy feel where like no matter what you're looking for, there's a piece of every bit of music, every bit of party music in Flogging Molly.
Yes, there's that folk, and then yeah, you're absolutely right. I can't remember what song I was listening to today in the car, and like whenever it breaks, just the music break, I'm like, that's just country. Like that is like bluegrass country that I'm listening to right here.
Mm-hmm.
Very
It's
cool.
it's absolutely amazing stuff. And his voice, like, how do you not sing along? He's got that throaty voice. He's got that accent that we all wish we had, and we all do terrible impressions of.
He says tree. I mean, yeah. It's
Me
great.
and my two best friends.
It's so fun. And you know, he says that they're influenced by artists like the Dubliners, the Pogues, Johnny Cash, the Clash, and you know, they wrote a song called Within a Mile of Home, which is dedicated to the to Joe Strummer of the Clash, which
Oh.
if Jeremy had done a 6 degrees to Flogging Molly, he may have picked up on that.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to Jeremy's in a minute.
I'm sure that he has. I do just wish that on St. Patrick's Day in America, we would take a moment to think about what Irish culture actually is and the gifts that the Irish people have actually given the world beyond whiskey and fighting and violence. You know, like
Do you
just
have
take a
examples?
James Joyce, Oscar Wilde, Brendan Behan, Colin Farrell, Liam Neeson, Daniel Day-Lewis, Martin McDonough, Trinity
Yes.
University. Like there are just so many gifts. You know, the guys who wrote Game of Thrones were students at Trinity College in Dublin.
Dublin.
That's where they learned. They were both went over there to study Irish literature, and that's how they sort of like made their names for themselves, and they gave that gift to the world. Like that's. I mean, that was filmed in Ireland, but that very much comes from Irish intellectual culture, and it entertained the whole world.
Yeah,
You know,
very
like,
much so.
mm.
I'm so like surprised that you didn't say Bono. I mean,
Those leave about the Mets and I think we've all had our fill of him.
we know. We should talk about Dolores from the Cranberries, rest in peace. And then, you know, this always goes back to just my absolute shame that I didn't know Van Morrison was Irish. I just
It's easy not to. Like you'd be forgiven for that. I could totally see somebody mistaking him for English or American.
I thought he was like from Tennessee. Like that's my argument is that most Irish singers, you know how sometimes people can sing and you don't know they have an accent until they have their regular speaking voice. A lot of English are like that. And but the Irish, like you could hear it in Dolores's voice. You can hear it in his voice as they're singing. It's very Irish. You cannot hear it at all with Van Morrison.
I think it was just the era that Van Morrison came out of. Like he was from that group of English, that generation of English and Irish people that fell in love with American roots music and Black American music. So I think it was probably a bit of a put on to start off with, just like he was trying to smooth out his accent and get rid of it so that he could make that sound that he loved.
I think you're right. I think he was trying to sound Southern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was pretty successful at it. You can kind of hear his lilt and moon dance for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Marvelous.
just thought it was a weird thing he had going on.
Marvelous is just such a great word to say in your fake Irish accent. It's a marvelous night for a moon dance.
Marvelous. Yeah, you're right. Do you know anything about the Salty Dog Cruise that Flogging Molly does?
I read a little bit about it. It sounds like I never want to go on a cruise. If I had to go on a cruise, I'll go on that.
So Corbin's the same way. He will not get on a boat. He has no wanting to get on a boat. And now in his older age, he's very, very claustrophobic as well.
I want to get on a boat. I love being on a boat, not on a cruise ship though.
Yeah. But I told him, like, I was like, listen to some of the people over the years that they've had. They started this in 2015, the Salty Dog Cruise, and it's just a cruise. It goes out to different places each year. And then it just has this lineup of bands and really fun stuff. Like they've had Rancid, Fishbone, NoFX, Devotchka, Buzzcocks, The Vandals. This year it's like Pennywise, Gorilla Biscuits, Skinny Lister, and on and on and on and on. And all these bands that Corbin loves. And I was like, you still wouldn't do it for that? He's like, hell no, I wouldn't go. He's like, that's gonna be mayhem. And I was like, yeah. But I looked, and the one for, it's in November, the one for this year sold out immediately. Like I think it sold out in December. Like I mean, it is
I want to
popular.
go see the Buzzcocks and Flogging Molly on the beach in Belize. Yes, you do. Yes.
It looks incredible. And I mean, yeah, I look on the Instagram and they have all this stuff, and it just looks so fun. And what I love about it is it's not a young person's cruise. It's like people our age going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Flying Molly are not a young person's band anymore.
No, it's not a bunch of like, 20-year-olds, or 21-year-olds. It's people partying really hard our age. And they have like a skate ramp on it this year, like a half pipe, where I'm like, a half pipe on a boat. All right. Like, I kind of wish I could go see this.
That's the thing. Their accordion player, he plays accordion in Flogging Molly, but he was also a pro skateboarder.
Yeah.
And professional pool hustler. Like, this guy's just a multi-talented weirdo.
Of coolness, of just coolness. Yes. I love it so much. Well, okay, I let's end it with your drive home of like, it's St. Patrick's Day. Let's not just think of the Irish as the drunken fighters. Let's remember what they really are.
Let's try to remember some of the experience of the whole thing.
The poetry, the the folkness.
Poetry, the monks. There's the famous argument that it's the Irish that basically saved civilization during the Dark Ages. They were the ones who had the monks that were still writing down all of the things that the Romans had taught us that we'd forgotten as we descended into medieval cruelty. They were the ones who preserved history for us.
See, I didn't even know there were Irish monks, Ben.
Oh, they're Irish monks.
All right, before we get into 6 degrees, so last week, we didn't record last week, but Jeremy I told him we're doing Flogging Molly, and he was like, great, here's 6 degrees of Dropkick Murphys, because they're all the same. And so when I posted that on the Instagram, if you guys want to go watch, I posted Jeremy 6 degrees of Dropkick Murphys, and he was I don't know if he was embarrassed or just laughing at his mistake, that he went and made a sketch for us. And so we're going to watch that together. So let's enjoy the sketch that Jeremy made. It's very funny.
Hey friends, it's Jeremy. As you may have noticed on this week's episode, Ben and Diane talked about the band Flogging Molly, but when it came time for me to do 6 degrees, I did the Dropkick Murphys.
I'm Helen, Jeremy's Irish friend.
Helen, I think the problem is it's like when I hear like Celtic punk music, all the bands sound the same to me. I think I have like Celtic punk band blindness.
It's actually super common to have trouble discerning the differences between Irish bands. Like most people even only know U2 or like, if you're a record store nerd, the Pogues.
Ooh, I like the Pogues. Well, I guess the problem is it's like when I hear most of that music, like I'm not really paying attention as much as I'm just waiting for someone to get thrown out of the bar.
Whoa, okay, while it's true that Celtic punk is the favorite genre of barroom fights and like redheaded frat boys who keep count of their drinks on St. Patrick's Day and, hockey teams for some reason, not sure. There are interesting subtle differences between these bands, Jeremy.
So like tell me more about Flogging Molly then.
Well, did you know the lead singer of Flogging Molly was in Fastway also?
I didn't. Well, what about the Dropkick Murphys?
Dropkick Murphys were actually super involved in working with the unionized labor movement.
Ooh, and Sinead O'Connor?
We are not talking about Sinead O'Connor, Jeremy.
Well, I just thought if we were going to start making fun of Irish music, like it might make sense, like,
I can't believe you even asked me to do this fucking shit, Jeremy. I mean, what are you thinking? Like, now you're going to bring up Irish treasure Sinead O'Connor and make fun of her? What'd you spend 5 fucking minutes on Wikipedia for jokes for a one-note sketch?
Fair. My apologies. But I guess what we're learning today, folks, this St. Patrick's Day, is if you're out, there are some discernible differences in the band. So thanks so much for joining me, Helen. Helen?
Mom, I'm not paying for his pay. I'll tell Dad if he does this shit again to talk to one of my other 12 siblings.
Back to Diana, Ben.
Thank you so much. That was comedian Helen Wildy. I think that's how you say her last name. On her socials, it's at How the Helen, and she's very funny comedian. And thank you to her so much for doing that sketch with Jeremy. And thank you.
She whipped up that thick Irish accent in a hurry.
So good.
No, we're not going to talk about Sinead O'Connor, Jeremy.
I can't believe we didn't even mention Sinead O'Connor and like how much I love Sinead O'Connor. Like I grew up obsessed with her music and her lyrics. So good. I like how
a documentary that was on Netflix a couple of months ago. It's probably still there.
Oh no, I should. No, I should.
Yeah, it's eye-opening.
Yeah. I love her. She's the most beautiful bald-headed thing that's ever existed on this planet. So Jeremy, that was really, really wonderful. Thank you so much. I don't have any deep cuts this week. Instead of a deep cut, since it's St. Patrick's and I did a very sad, kind of sad Flogging Molly song, I'm just going to play a couple of clips of some of their jams. I'm just going to play a little bit of What's Left of the Flag and a little bit of Drunken Lullabies and leave everybody with that.
Walk away, me boy, walk away, me boy, and by morning we'll be free. Wipe that golden tear from your mother dear, and raise what's left of the flag for me. Then the rosary beads, counting 1, 2, 3, fell apart as they hit the floor. In our garb of black, we must pay respect to the colour we're born to mourn. Walk away, me boys, walk away, me boys, by morning we'll be free. Wipe the golden tear from your mother dear, raise what's left of the flag for me.
I had a deep cut kind of in honor of Flogging Molly. I picked a song called Molly Malone's. Obviously, that's the pub that Flogging Molly got their start from and their name from. But it's called Molly Malone, and it's by the Dubliners. And it's not a deep cut of the Dubliners, but the Dubliners might be themselves a deep cut.
In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty, I first set my eyes on sweet Molly Malone, as she wheeled her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's another band that, you know, there was a list of bands we could probably do if we wanted to do it all month, and that would have been a great one too.
The Dubliners are like very traditional Irish folk. They're like 7 graybeards all lined up on stage together.
Yeah.
With their
really
deep baritones.
All right, that's awesome.
Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh. All right, I'm gonna sing at some point. There you go.
There you go. I feel like my energy's low because I'm conserving it, because as soon as we're done here, I gotta make an Irish soda bread and get ready to party because I'm having people over. And you're trying to not party that hard tonight.
I'm trying to be as low key as I'm trying to participate, but as low key as possible. I've got a very pale Irish green plaid shirt that I'm going to be wearing. Like, we're participating, but we're not participating.
Hello, listeners. Sorry for the interruption. Listen, we're not one of those shows that does those really annoying ad reads because we don't have enough listeners to do ad reads and make that kind of money. So, look, I'm not into begging for your money, but this is what I am into. We offer a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/rockthecashbar. And if you would like to give us $5 a month, we will put your name in this bucket and we will draw a name once a month and let you choose a song that we discuss. Here's the biggest, most important reason why I am encouraging you to do this. Not to give us a lot of money. It's fine. The biggest reason is because my husband, Corbin, is a Patreon member and his name is in this box. And it's terrifying because the songs that he wants us to do are awful. I don't know if you guys remember the last time we drew his name, but he made us do a Gigi Allen song. And if you don't know Gigi Allen songs, he sings about eating his diarrhea. Okay, we have to put a stop to Corbin. Like, I can't stop myself from drawing his name, but if more names are in this box, then the chances of drawing his name are smaller. Okay, I'll give you an example of the songs he has in mind. Like, one is MacArthur Park. I don't know if you've ever listened to those lyrics, but give it a shot. See if everybody's going to skip that episode. My Dick by Mickey Avalon, which that actually might be funny to hear Ben read those lyrics. But no, the latest one he said was what, the theme song to American History X. I don't even know what that is, but no, guys, no, help us drown out the chances of drawing Corbin's name. Okay, $5 a month, patreon.com/rockthecashbar. Help us destroy Corbin. Back to the show. Well, I'm going to say next week, it's our Patreon, Greg Warren. It's his choice. And I have sent him a text and a message on Instagram, and he's not responding to me. So you have to get on the line with him and tell him to get this.
I'll wrangle him. Let's try to get him on as a guest too. He's so much fun to talk to. I'm going to see if I can lean on him.
I'd like to. I know he's busy and he has this special and stuff. So I don't want to pressure him too much, but he would be like, it would be a third time, and I'd love having Greg on, but no pressure, Greg, but come on, Greg.
We're going to have a 5-timers club on Rock the Cash Bar. I think Greg's got to be the first of 5.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay. This is good.
And Vogue.
1, 2, 3.
Rock the Cash Bar is produced by Diane Gallagher, music by Chuck Savage and Eddie Hawkins. Special thank you to Jeremy Essig for 6 Degrees and to Sarah Wessling for the Guilty Pleasures vocals. Our website is rockthecashbarpodcast.com, and there you can find links to our Spotify playlist and to our Patreon. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.